We have been writing our Queensland 12 Days of Christmas across this morning, asking you for your suggestions to finish this line.
On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me.
Greg from Townsville says a mango daiquiri. Lots of suggestions about birds or different creatures in a tree, a sunbird in a fig tree, a rosella in a gum tree from Anne from Dimbula. Trish from Forest Beach says a gecko in the pantry. And another one here, which we probably don't want, but it's a cyclone from the Coral Sea. If you've got suggestions to add to the mix, 1300 630 222 or SMS 0487 993 222. Now, receiving something in the mail, we were just talking about the post and those increasing costs, but receiving something in the mail that's not a bill is a nice novelty, as I've shared with you before. We have a saying at our house, no mail means no bills, but even better than not having bills is getting a letter or a handwritten letter more so. Writing can be cathartic, writing a letter. It can also be journaling or poems or writing a song. Psychology consultant and author Dr. Jo Lukens is with me. Good morning.
Good morning, Susan.
Writing a letter or receiving a written letter is so special, isn't it? Do you think it's one of those lost arts?
I think it's become that. And listening to the conversations this morning, we know that most of these arts have been overshadowed by digital technologies, and that's because of convenience and speed. Obviously, it takes us much longer to write a letter or to get our ideas down onto paper, but we've certainly seen people have moved away from these traditional forms of expression, and what we lose sometimes is that personal touch and creativity. So it's a shame in some ways that we've moved away so far from it.
What are some of the benefits of handwriting over the typed letter or email or message?
Yeah, so a range of benefits. So we do know that handwriting itself as an activity engages the brain in ways that typing actually doesn't. So we typically find that if you can use handwriting, and the students listening in might want to think about this for their lectures, we know that it helps retain our memories and our conceptual understanding. So it's almost like the way I often explain it to students is that when you write something down, you hear it twice, because you hear the person say it and then you write the notes yourself and you hear yourself say it. So we do know that handwriting is a very different form of learning than, say, using our keyboards. And we do know, obviously, things like our fine motor skills, and you mentioned journals before, so it offers us an activity that can be very much a mindful activity. So there's lots of benefits from handwriting over typing when we've got the time to do it.
So how can you incorporate letter writing or just writing in general, handwriting, controversial, into our modern busy lives, Jo?
Yeah, so I think for the first of all is to be mindful about it as an activity, and for all of us sitting talking about this today, thinking about how much is handwriting actually a part of our day-to-day practice, being aware of that, and then if that's something that you want to increase and improve, because there are many brain and cognitive benefits from doing so. And I would say to people, if you haven't been doing much of it, just to start to integrate it into your life in a small way, setting aside maybe a little bit of time each week to write a note to a friend or a family member. There are letter writing clubs out there, and maybe even incorporating handwritten elements into your digital communication, sending a photo with a note, those sorts of practices. There's lots of little ways that we can include a little bit of writing as part of our everyday.
Psychology consultant Dr. Jo Lukens is with me. How can parents encourage their youngsters to engage with these, what the kids would call old school forms of expression?
Yes. So I think the first thing is, as is often the case whenever we're talking about little people, we need to role model it first. They see us writing, then that might be something they're interested in. And certainly young children are very keen to learn to write, because that's certainly something that we recognise as an important life skill, and we celebrate that as children learn to form their letters with their tongue sticking out of the side of their mouth as they're doing it and concentrating. Families can encourage their children to write letters to family members, particularly those that are further away, and often grandparents might like to write back. So there's lots of different ways that we can do it, but I think that it all starts with putting it on the agenda for us as part of our family practices.
Yeah, and if we just think about it a little more, even if it's a little bit each day, then we could maybe get those benefits from it.
Absolutely. We know there's many benefits from handwriting, and so putting that forward as something for us to prioritise is a great way to do it.
Psychology consultant and author Dr. Jo Lukens, thanks for being with me today.
Good to chat with you, Susan.